How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined by my co-host, Drew Johnson. You can find us both on Twitter. I'm at Dalton_Trigg, and DJ is at Coach Drew33. The NBA lottery was last night, and we didn't get the results we wanted, or at least our top results that we wanted, but it wasn't the worst case scenario either. I tried my best to wheel the number one pick to Dallas, but my powers aren't as strong as I thought in that regard. So shout out to Kirk Henderson, who wheeled Luka Doncic to Dallas back in 2018. He seems to have a little bit more strength in that department, but it is what it is. It could have been worse. The Mavs could have lost their pick and had to give it to the New York Knicks after watching Jalen Brunson set records for the Knicks in the playoffs. So could have been much worse, but the Mavs stay at 10. Their rival, San Antonio Spurs, got the number one pick. So now we get to watch Luka Doncic and Victor Wembanyama play each other 4 times a year in the division. So that's, as an NBA fan, that's awesome. As a Mavs fan, that's potentially worrisome, considering that you just missed the playoffs anyway. So, but the Mavs keep their pick. So now there's, a lot more options. It's a deep draft, one of the best drafts, as far as overall prospects I've seen in a while. So they could potentially draft someone who could help right off the bat at number 10, or they could trade back and try to multiply their assets and, within the draft and add multiple young guys. Or they could trade the pick and in a bigger package to get win now players. So they've got a lot of options. I'll give some more of my thoughts here in a second, but what are your initial thoughts on the Mavs staying at 10?
I'm just glad we didn't lose the pick. I'm always a worst case scenario kind of guy, and I was very concerned that we were going to dip below the top 10 and that we were going to fork even more over to New York than we already have, which would have just made me sick. So I was very happy to see us keep the 10th pick. And, I would have liked to have had a top 5 pick, don't get me wrong. But in my opinion, if you don't have Wembanyama, if you don't have the number one pick, then we need to explore trade options. And so not having the number one pick kind of gives us the freedom to explore said options. So I do think that I'm more in favor of exploring options that include getting players that will help us win right now. While this draft is deep, and at number 10, I'm not sure that, we couldn't get who we needed in the draft at a lower point. Like we were talking about Derek Lively last night. We could get him at a much lower point.
Oh, yeah.
Along with other draft picks, I think. I think we could trade and get other draft picks, if not someone who will help us win now as well as a lower draft pick.
Yeah, and Friday, I had Richard Stamen on. He's at most of y'all listening know him as Mavs Draft on Twitter, but I had him on Friday and we talked for a little bit, about draft lottery and draft stuff. And then after the lottery happened last night, I was talking with him and was asking him about Derek Lively because Richard went to the combine. And he said that Lively didn't do anything at the combine, like he didn't play in the scrimmages and didn't do all the measuring. That's a Clutch Sports decided that, he was going to sit out of all that. So I don't know if that's, just precautionary or if that's, if there's something they're hiding there. I don't know. But, we've talked about it. Lively seems to be, a Tyson Chandler type of player. Who could potentially do more, or I think it can do more than Tyson Chandler.
Absolutely.
But when I was talking with Richard last night, he was just like, it would be a really big mistake if the Mavs took him in the lottery. Like if you're going to take Lively, you need to trade back, and you need to try and either trade back and swap picks and take him there and add some other players in that trade, or you need to try and find a team that has multiple picks in the late first round, or maybe a late first round and an early second round pick, something like that, and do it that way. So I don't know. There's some options. I'm going to try to do this screen share thing real quick. All right. Let me pull this up. All right. So we've got a handful of mock drafts here in the immediate aftermath of the lottery. And again, the Spurs, they won the number one overall pick. So most likely, unless something just
that's about as sure of a thing as I've ever seen.
Unless they just completely lose their minds, they're going to be taking Wembanyama at number one. But we've got 4 different mock drafts I have pulled up, and on all 4, they have the Mavs selecting a different player. So
yeah,
we're going to run through these really quick. This is Kevin O'Connor for the Ringer. So he's got Wembanyama 1, Brandon Miller 2 to the Hornets, Scoot Henderson 3 to the Trailblazers. I guess, is it Amon or Amon? I guess it's Amon Thompson, number 4 to the Rockets. Cam Whitmore 5 to the Pistons, and I'm so sorry, Pistons fans.
Yeah,
you were in that number 1 slot, even though the top 3 have the same odds, and you slipped down to 5. So that was not good for them. The other Thompson twin at number 6 to the Orlando Magic. Taylor Hendricks, who I really like, from UCF, going number 7 to the Pacers. I would love it if he slipped to 10, but I don't see it happening. Mm-hmm. Anthony Black, number 8 to the Washington Wizards. Cason Wallace from Kentucky, number 9 to the Utah Jazz. And then he has Jarris Walker from Houston going to the Mavs at number 10. I love Jarris Walker.
Yeah.
I'll get your thoughts on him, but he was another player that I talked about with Richard Stamen on Friday. To me, he's 6'7", but he's got a 7'2" wingspan, and he's not a knockdown 3-point shooter, but he shot almost 35%, so it's not terrible. He's got a nice jumper, in my opinion. He plays great defense. He can block shots. I mean, to me, it feels like Jarris Walker could be the modern day Draymond, or the next iteration of Draymond Green in the league. So maybe minus the punching people in practices and stuff. So, but what's your thoughts on Jarris Walker in this first mock draft?
We saw a lot of him in the NCAA tournament. He's very athletic, very powerfully built, very long. He can defend at an NBA level right now, and he can guard multiple positions. I would say he could probably guard the 3 through the 5, which is very valuable in today's league, given that it's all pick and roll driven, because you have to be able to switch off the pick and roll, and that is all teams do now. So, I think he's got those bases covered. What I worry about with him is, where do we put him? Do we put him at the 3? Do we put him at the 4? Because at the 3, I just don't think that he shoots the ball well enough, and I don't think he has the offensive tools yet to be a true 3 in the NBA. At the 4, of course, you're giving up a lot of size. Now, in today's small ball league, like you said, with the Draymond Green comparison, we could make it work. But again,
he's also just really stout too. He's 240. And he just looks like he has an NBA-ready body. So he's 19, but, I think he could, really give guys some trouble already.
Oh, yeah. No, defensively and physically, he's ready. I just worry about his offensive game right now. But, if we're talking about drafting people, I think that he would be a good prospect. But, again, I think the better prospect would be to trade back and get more for this top 10 pick. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Again, this is one of the deeper drafts we've seen in a long time. And the Mavs, if this was just like make the right pick and you're set for the next handful of years, that would be one thing. But that's not a luxury the Mavs have right now. They have multiple holes that they're trying to fill in one off season, and it's going to be really hard to do that given the resources that they have. But, again, it could have been worse. They could have given the pick to the Knicks, and then they still – if they had given the pick to the Knicks, they could have still traded the 2025 and 2027 picks. But, those drafts might not be as deep as what this one is. So I think that number 10, I think that number 10 pick this year holds more weight than if you were having to trade those other two picks together.
Oh, I agree.
So
I agree.
Let's move on to this. The next mock draft is Yahoo Sports, and everything stayed pretty much the same in the top 9, except they had Jarris Walker going 6th. But all the other prospects stayed the same in that top 9. And this one, they have the Mavs taking Grady Dick from Kansas. 6'8", 205. Good player. It says, let's see. It says the Mavericks keep their pick after they tank the remainder of the season and could add a shooter with size like Grady Dick on the perimeter. The Kansas guard raised some eyebrows Monday afternoon at the NBA Draft Combine when he elected to participate in every activity, including shooting drills and 3-on-3 competition. Typically, players projected within the lottery skip any sort of competition to avoid exposure or injury. Dick shot 64% and finished with the 4th best score in the three-point star drill and shot 76.7% and was 6th out of all players when shooting off the dribble. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, yeah. I'll be honest. I haven't kept up much with Grady Dick. Now, I have seen him in mock drafts for the Mavs, throughout this process before we found out the lottery order. But, I could see it. The main thing is size. Like, he's 6'8". I don't know what's his defensive ability, because I have a hunch that it's, he's not great on the defensive end. But am I right about that? Or
better than you'd think, but still concerning. Yeah. Now I will say this about him: the guy can absolutely fill it up. He's got an NBA level offensive game, and he can absolutely fill it up from 3, which, checks a box that the Mavs really need. It's really funny because I think we talked about this not too long ago. The two main needs that the Mavericks need to address are A, they need long wings who can shoot the ball and defend. We have to keep that in mind. And also they need a rim running / glass eating post that Luka can throw lobs to. Dick semi addresses one of those needs, but again, I do worry about him defensively.
And after talking about Grady Dick here, I think it's a perfect opportunity to take a break for our sponsored ad here. So hold on just a second. We'll be right back.
I know where this is going.
Breaking news, y'all. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger allows you to shape your signature beard look. And you can do just that right now by going to manscaped.com and using code MAVSTEPBACK for 20% off and free shipping. I have my own personal Beard Hedger, and I love it. This thing is a juggernaut of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting links, all with one guard. So no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. That's right, face grooming doesn't need to be hard. Get 20 different beard links in just one guard. To make things even better, the Beard Hedger is waterproof, so you can shave in the shower to avoid all that hair in the sink. So guys, if you want to try out this convenient beard grooming experience, again, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code MAVSTEPBACK at manscaped.com right now. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code MAVSTEPBACK. Manscaped Beard Hedger. 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. The next one we got, DJ, is well, hold on. Let me see here. Let me move my screen. That is Grady Dick's stats right there. Hold on. I'm still getting the hang of this this screen share thing. It's pretty cool on the let's see. Okay, so the SB Nation mock draft has Anthony Black from Arkansas going to the Mavs at number 10. So I don't know anything about Anthony Black, so I'm going to reserve my comments on this. But what's some stuff you can tell us about Anthony Black that would, make him an intriguing prospect for the Mavs to take at 10?
Well, again, we said the need is long, athletic wings who can shoot and play defense. Well, he's got half of that. He's long, he's athletic, he's a great defender, great on the glass, but he's a little bit shoddy as far as a jump shooter is concerned. And honestly, if I'm keeping this top 10 pick and I'm actually going to use it, I would rather draft someone who is going to help me out offensively rather than defensively, because as we have always said in this league, defense is great, but it's a league based on scoring. I mean, you have teams putting up 20, 130 points a game. We need help as far as that's concerned. So, I think that out of everyone that we have mentioned today, I think that Grady Dick is probably the better choice. But Anthony Black brings some defensive tools to the table that would help. Again, I just worry about his offensive game.
And I just I hate to backtrack, but going back to Grady Dick, I think the biggest thing is, how many times have we watched the Mavs and we just think to ourselves, man, what if Luka had more guys around him who could hit wide open shots?
Mm-hmm.
Like actual knockdown 3-point shot. With all due respect to guys like Reggie Bullock, what if there was a guy that was consistent, year round shooting threes, catch and shoot threes from passes from Luka, instead of, being non-existent for the first 3 months of the season and then trying to get it going late, but then sometimes it's just too late to really help. So that's my biggest thing. A guy that shot over 40% from 3 in college, that really intrigues me. And again, the size, 6'8", over 200 pounds, you really got something to work with there. So that's intriguing to me. Over 5 rebounds a game. I like that. The playmaking, almost 2 assists a game. I don't know how his playmaking is, but if that's something that they can work on and get him, comfortable, handling the ball, driving to the basket, working in the pick and roll, then you really got something there. But my top choice, if they kept the 10th pick, would probably be Jarris Walker, because I feel like he can guard at his, like, he's smaller, but at his size, I feel like he could guard 1 through 5 if needed. It'd be less effective with the bigger 5s, but at 240 and his wingspan 7'2", I love that. I think he could, like I said earlier, I think he could be your, the NBA's next iteration of Draymond Green. So he would be my top choice. Grady Dick wouldn't be too far behind. Anthony Black, I'm not opposed to it, but again, I just haven't put, a lot of homework. I haven't done a lot of homework on him yet. So, but after you talked about him for a little bit, I am gonna go back and do that. The last mock draft that we're gonna look at before I offer up one trade back scenario, and look, this is gonna be the first of a million trade scenarios that I offer up throughout the summer, now that we actually know where the Mavs are in the draft. So, but we're just going to give you one today. But before we do that, I'm going to go to let's see, that was the SB Nation one. The last one was from The Athletic. And this is the one I was telling you about last night, DJ. And I think I said CBS, but I was wrong. It's The Athletic. They have Derek Lively going to the Mavs at 10th. 19 years old, 7'1". They had a scout come on there and said Lively struggled to start the season, but by the end of it, there was not a more impactful defender in college basketball. He's an elite rim protector who averaged 2.5 blocks per game this season in 20 minutes. He defends ball screens well and can do so in a variety of different schemes. He can hard hedge and recover. He can drop, and he can play at the level. He's mobile, and he runs the court very well. Offensively, he's extremely limited right now, but Lively has immense tools with a 7'7" wingspan that portends potential to not just be a good defender, but a great one. So, and again, that goes right along with what we've been saying for months about him, about him being, the next Tyson Chandler for the Mavs. I mean, that just reading all of that just screams Tyson Chandler to me, DJ. So, what? Go ahead and give some more thoughts on Lively here.
His offensive game gets a bad rap, but I'm telling you guys, go back and look at some of his high school stuff. He never truly got comfortable in college. You never actually saw what he was able to do. If you go back and look at some of his high school stuff and his AAU stuff, which I know it's a completely different world, but if you go back and look and see what he is actually capable of, the guy was skilled. And I think that with some time in the league, you will see that skill surface. He is a much better offensive player than people give him credit for. I think he will be, at least. Again, though, I like the idea of trading back to get him because all these other mock drafts, I mean, some don't even have him in the top 25. So why not trade the top 10 pick, get potentially multiple picks, and pick up Lively on the back end? We still get that value, and we still get someone else too. And like I guess said, we're trying to fill gaps here. I think that's right. Start.
And I guess the question is, how far do you trade back to get him? Because I understand that it's a risk taking him in the lottery, but I don't really see him falling past, pick 20. I know some people have projected him to be, an early second round pick, and that was, months ago. But I feel like because of the measurements, because of, his finish to the year versus how he started it, I feel like he's going to end up going in that mid to late first round range. So, I mean, one thing I've looked at, and I wonder if the Mavs would consider it, because you could add another key young piece while also, adding Derek Lively. But I'm just looking at the draft order here. Let me pull this up so our YouTube people can see it. Hold on. Okay, so this is the draft order, and so the Mavs at 10th, and you start looking at these teams behind them, and the Warriors, they really intrigue me here because we had the report coming out that, Jonathan Kuminga might want out of Golden State because he just doesn't have consistent playing time, and he's a really good young player. And, basically with the Warriors cap situation, in my opinion, it feels like it's a Draymond Green or Jonathan Kuminga situation. I don't know if they can keep both of them. And Steve Kerr came out the other day and said, if we don't keep Draymond Green, then we're no longer a championship contender, because he said that's how much Draymond impacts winning. So
right.
One of my very early, and, this is subject to change, but one of my very early Mavs trade back scenarios I have is trading number 10 in some kind of filler, maybe JaVale McGee or Reggie Bullock, to Golden State and number 19 and Jonathan Kuminga.
So I love it. I don't know if they would buy it because Kuminga actually has a lot of value. Kuminga, was he not a lottery pick?
He was the 7th pick a couple years ago.
Yeah. He's got
They
a
would
lot.
have to Golden State would have to really, really like whoever is sitting there at 10th for them to do something like that.
Right. Or they'd have to really, really like who you, whichever one of our players we place on the trade block.
Right.
I just don't think that Bullock is enticing enough.
And you see another scenario, and I was playing around with this last night, but another, I guess, more realistic trade in that scenario would be like if you traded number 10 and Josh Green to the Warriors for Kuminga in 19. But then, in that scenario, I think that's more something that Golden State would entertain. But I mean, are you really I guess the question for the Mavs is, in that particular situation, like, are you really gaining enough to warrant doing it, or are you just kind of, shuffling the deck a little bit?
No, because the reality is Green fills a need. We really need to retain Green if we can. Because again, he's a long wing who's great on defense, and honestly, his offensive game is coming along quite nicely. Gosh, I don't want to say Hardy, but Hardy might be the way to go. That might be enough to raise the eyebrows over there.
Right. Especially if you keep Kyrie Irving, that helps a little bit. I mean, obviously I'm one of the biggest, Jaden Hardy fans ever after this last season. He really made me a believer, but if you have Kyrie Irving and there's only so many minutes going around at the guard positions anyway, why not do it and add more size with Kuminga and more potential, and you retain Green and you end up trading back and getting Derek Lively. That sounds like a winner to me.
Exactly. Like you have to look at where your gaps are. And as much as I love Hardy, if you have to give up Hardy, you're not increasing your gaps, especially if you're bringing in someone like Kuminga.
There's two, and I said I was going to throw out one, but obviously my brain, the wheels get turning. I can't just stop at one. But a couple more potential trade scenarios I could see is let me pull it back up here. Let's see. The Miami Heat have the 18th pick in the draft. In the past we have seen rumors of how the Miami Heat could be interested in Tim Hardaway Jr. They could, even though they're in the conference finals right now, they could have really used some extra offense from him on some of these nights, where they have great defense, but their offense is kind of lacking at times unless Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry are just going off. So I'm thinking with THJ being in so many trade rumors, like, could you trade number 10 and Tim Hardaway Jr. to Miami for number 18 and get something of value there? I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know how attached Miami is to Bam Adebayo, but if you could do something like that and get him, and even if you have to, if you're Dallas, if you have to give up Maxi Kleber, who is north of 30 years old now, in that deal as well, I think that's something you'd have to really entertain too. That would be a franchise altering move just based on the level of big men that the Mavs have had since Tyson Chandler, which, has not been great. So that's one thing I'm looking at. Another thing, and this will be the last thing we talk about before we head off here, DJ, would be, trading the pick altogether in a bigger package for more established players and not getting a pick back, because we're talking like superstar or close to superstar level players. So it's trade, and maybe that Bam Adebayo trade is one of those situations because Bam is really good.
Yeah, he's legit.
Yeah, he hasn't had the greatest playoff run. He's been kind of inconsistent in this run, even though Miami has as the 8th seed, made it to the conference finals, but he's still, the Mavs would be very lucky to have him. And I don't know if that's a situation where they'd be able to swap picks. But anyway, I look at some situations around the league, in like Toronto, for example. They fired Nick Nurse, so they don't have a coach. There's been rumbles that they're going to blow things up and completely restart. So I'm wondering if there's a way that the Mavs could get Pascal Siakam if they traded the number 10 pick and that 2027 pick that they have, which is, Masai Ujiri, the GM for Toronto. He likes taking some gambles every now and then. And if he's looking at how the free agency stuff is on the Mavs roster, Luka could opt out of the last year of his contract, become a free agent in 2026. So, I mean, that if you could think of it like this. Okay, you have a top 10 pick in a really deep draft, plus you have the 2027 pick. And if Luka, for some reason, ends up leaving Dallas, then, the Toronto Raptors end up having a really good pick probably. So, I hope that doesn't happen. I think Luka loves it in Dallas and will stay unless the Mavs just give him too many reasons not to. Mm-hmm. But I could see that being a selling point to try and get a guy like Siakam, who is everything the Mavs need right now, in my opinion, on both ends of the floor. I think he would be a huge difference. He'd be like a more enhanced version of what they had with Josh Howard back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I really think that's something that they need to look into. I would love to see Pascal Siakam in a Mavs uniform, come early July or around the draft, whenever it is. So, and OG Anunoby, if they can if they can work something out in that trade as a package deal, to get him too, maybe you include Josh Green or Jaden Hardy in something like that. If you can get it to where you have Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and then whoever you find to put at center in that situation, I think that would be an outstanding offseason for the Mavs.
So, yeah, it'd be definitely heading in the right direction. And Siakam, I think, is underrated.
Very.
What he brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has proven that he can still be an all-NBA caliber player as the number one guy, even though the Raptors haven't won as much since Kawhi left. But he's already proven that he can win a championship as the second guy. Mm-hmm. So you put him on the Mavs and you have him and Kyrie competing as the second guy on that team. I think that just raises the level of the team tremendously. So, we'll see how it goes. Guys, look, we're going to stop it there for this one. We're going to have so many different scenarios, that play out throughout the rest of this summer. And I'm sure, the rumor mill is going to pick up and there's going to be more mock drafts and scouting reports and stuff of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But, at least we do have something to talk about aside from, mourning the loss of a pick. So, good for the Mavs for keeping that pick, and it's going to make for a fun summer, I think, with all the possibilities that are there. So, guys, I appreciate it. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts for a chance to win a Mavs Step Back t-shirt. We have several different designs for that. And then in season, every now and then we'll do some ticket giveaways. So leaving us a review there throws your name into the hat for a chance to win that stuff. So be sure to do that. And we will see you next time. I'm going to try and, keep up with these playoff updates. Almost said Golden State Warriors. It's still early in the morning, but the Los Angeles Lakers lost to the Denver Nuggets in game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Nikola Jokic had a 30-20-10 triple-double. He's just been amazing, and they took a 1-0 lead over the Lakers. And then we have the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics tonight. We'll see if that 8th seed magic from Jimmy Butler can continue. So, guys, appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.